Hi guys, I hope you're doing well. In this video, I want to talk about the mishandling of the black woman by mainstream America, why it is, and how it shows up in modern media, entertainment, and society. So let's get to it. Desirability, conditional rewarding, and prestige insecurity are calling. Pick up. So I want to address this from the angle of three different people. Let's first start with Miss Angel Reese, who's one of the main inspirations for this video. Angel is a pro WNBA player who recently walked the Victoria's Secret fashion show, to which she received a lot of backlash. I know I saw a lot of comments on TikTok saying they missed the old days when models were unattainable and could inspire them. It felt like they were almost questioning if Angel Reese was pretty enough to fit the former standard upheld by Victoria's Secret, which in many ways was extremely harmful. They acted like having Angel Reese, a professional athlete, walk the runway was a kind of lowering of standards. But when people talk about standards and beauty, they rarely admit whose standards they mean. For decades, the ideal model was built around whiteness tall, thin, delicate, and almost unreachable. That wasn't coincidence, it was design. It wasn't just about beauty, it was about hierarchy, about creating a fantasy that most women, including black women, could never live up to. The so called golden age of Victoria's Secret wasn't natural. It was a system that rewarded deprivation and even self destruction, all to maintain an illusion of perfection that was never meant to include everyone. Angel Reese's body tells a different story. It's strong, athletic, and joyful. It's built through work and power, not starvation or suppression. And for some people, that's uncomfortable because when beauty starts to look healthy, confident, and unapologetically black, it threatens the old fantasy. It challenges what America has been taught to desire. It blurs the line between aspirational and attainable. And in a culture that's long sold beauty as exclusivity, that can feel like losing control. You see, for so long, beauty was built on distance, models who looked untouchable, fragile, and impossibly thin. That distance created power. It told women that beauty was something to chase, not something they could already be. The fashion world sold perfection as an illusion, one centered on whiteness, wealth, and restraint. And many people grew attached to that fantasy because it protected their sense of order. Seeing someone like Angel Reese, a black woman whose beauty feels grounded and real, forces a reckoning. It disrupts the illusion that beauty belongs only to a select few. And for those invested in that system, letting go of the old fantasy feels like losing control over who gets to be desired, who gets to be seen, and who gets to define what beautiful really means. For many white women, the backlash against Angel Reese reveals something deeper than simple disagreement. It exposes a quiet psychological tension that comes from losing control of the beauty narrative. For generations, being thin, delicate, and fair skinned has not only become the aesthetic ideal, but also a form of social power, a way of signaling status, class, and belonging. When the standard begins to expand, when someone like Angel Reese embodies a new kind of beauty that doesn't need to mirror whiteness to be celebrated, it disrupts that foundation. Psychologically, this creates cognitive dissonance, a clash between what white women were taught to believe about their place in the beauty hierarchy and what the world is beginning to reflect back. Thus, some may feel as though they're losing an invisible privilege they never had to name. And I know some people may think my bringing race into the equation is a stretch, but what else do you attribute the backlash to? I mean, people argue they wanted to be inspired when I know 95% of them don't have Angel's body. How is a professional athlete's body not unattainable? There's been so much conversation about Victoria's Secret's recent rebrand, but I don't think Angel Reese actually falls into the criticism people have been throwing around. She's tall, athletic, beautiful, honestly much closer to the traditional model standard than people gave her credit for. I understand why some wanted the fashion show to focus on professional models for the sake of cohesion and performance quality. I mean, that's a fair discussion. But the backlash Angel received felt awkward and unnecessary, almost like people were searching for a reason to be upset. I think of the criticism surrounding how Victoria's Secret handled their plus-size representation. Many felt the brand used body inclusivity as a marketing tool rather than a genuine shift, tokenizing plus-size models instead of giving them equal visibility or respect. That's a real issue, but Angel's participation isn't what represents the problem. If anything, the outrage directed at her feels misplaced. And I can't help but think she wouldn't have faced the same level of scrutiny if she were a white woman. Her involvement was read through a different lens, one that always seems to demand justification when a black woman takes up space in luxury or high fashion contexts. So when people say that Victoria's Secret has lowered its standards, what they're really saying is that the beauty ideal is shifting away from whiteness, and they don't know how to process that, because beauty in America has always been racialized. The old standard glorified white femininity, while black women were labeled too much, too curvy, too dark, too visible. But what happens when the women who were once excluded begin to define beauty for themselves? Angel Reese didn't lower the standard, she expanded it. She walked that runway and said, "This too is beautiful. This too belongs." And rightfully so. I'm sure decades from now, people will be looking back on her career acknowledging the doors she's currently opening for future WNBA players, especially in terms of how they're viewed by the public. Another black woman who I think triggers white America is Miss Olandria Carthen. Olandria recently rose to fame after competing on Love is Blind and finding love in a white boy, Mr. Nick Vanstenberg. I think that's how you say his last name. Anywho, Nick and Olandria received a lot of hate when the show first ended, with many not believing their relationship to be real, questioning Olandria's character, or simply undermining her beauty. What's interesting about the reaction to Olandria is that it really isn't about her attitude, or even her time on the show. It's about what she represents. Every few years, a woman like Olandria appears. Poised, beautiful, self-assured, and suddenly the internet doesn't know what to do with her. People start projecting all these labels: mean, arrogant, too confident. But underneath all that noise, what's really happening is a form of symbolic status threat. Symbolic status threat happens when people feel that their place in the social hierarchy, especially their symbolic position in beauty, desirability, or moral superiority, is being challenged. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. For so long, television has upheld a very specific fantasy of femininity: soft, white or light skinned, and unthreatening. When someone like Olandria walks in, dark skinned, confident, emotionally grounded, and unapologetically visible, it unsettles that image. Her beauty doesn't exist in relation to whiteness, and that alone makes people uncomfortable. Suddenly, she's not the side character or the best friend. She's the one being chosen. She's the one a man desires openly, and for some viewers, that disrupts the natural order they've been conditioned to accept. You can see it in the way people, black and white, question her connection with Nick. The skepticism wasn't just about compatibility, it was about believability. It was as if people couldn't process the idea that a white man could genuinely want a dark-skinned black woman without it being performative or for the show. That disbelief reveals how deeply the old beauty hierarchy still runs. It's not just that people don't want to see Olandria win, it's that her being desired forced them to confront how desire itself has been racialized. Because for decades, the cultural script has told us that men like Nick are meant to choose women who fit that Eurocentric ideal, the image that defines what's aspirational. When he didn't follow that script, which by the way, historically many have not, but that's another video, it triggered the collective discomfort that comes from symbolic status threat. Unfortunately, even months after the show has ended, one can still see the aftermath of Olandria being chosen, with many sending racist hate and negativity her way. Hollywood's treatment of black actresses is one of the clearest reflections of how America mishandles the beautiful, complex image of the black woman. It's not that black women aren't wanted, it's that the industry doesn't know how to want them. Take 2000's Charlie's Angels, for example. Both Nia Long and Thandie Newton auditioned for the part. Nia was told she looked too old next to Drew Barrymore, who's only 4 years younger than her, which she took as code for too black. And it's very interesting when you take into consideration how Lucy Liu, who got the part Nia auditioned for, is actually 6 years older than Drew. Then, when Thandie met with the director, he started the meeting with wanting a close-up of her character's butt. According to Entertainment Weekly, Thandie Newton recalled a meeting with the head of Sony, who began by saying, "Look, I don't mean to be politically incorrect, but the character as written, and you playing the role, I just feel like we've got to make sure that it's believable." Noon goes, I was like, what do you mean? What changes would you have to make? She's like, well, the character is written, she's been in university and is educated. I'm like, I've been in university. I went to Cambridge. She went, yeah, but you're different. Noon continued, she's like, maybe there could be a scene when you're in a bar and she gets up on the table and starts shaking her booty. She's basically reeling off these stereotypes of how to be more convincing as a black character. Everything she said, I was like, nah, I wouldn't do that. This moment reflects a much larger pattern in how America, and by extension Hollywood, mishandles black women. There's a fascination with their beauty, power, and influence, but also a deep-seated discomfort with allowing them to fully occupy center stage. Nia, for instance, represented a type of woman who was both feminine and self-assured, someone who could command attention without catering to the male gaze, and that challenged Hollywood's old template for leading women. The industry has always been comfortable with black women as background figures, the sassy friend, the nurturing mother, the voice of reason, but rarely as the woman who embodies fantasy and desire in her own right. By denying actresses like Nia and Thandi those roles, Hollywood wasn't just overlooking talent, it was protecting an old illusion of what femininity is supposed to look like. Yet, it seems like Hollywood knows exactly what to do with black women who don't fit into its narrow, Eurocentric mold of conventional beauty. Someone like Viola Davis, for instance, is endlessly praised, and rightfully so, for her power, range, and emotional depth. But notice how the roles she's offered and the way audiences are taught to receive her often center around struggle, dignity, pain, or perseverance. She's the strong woman who carries everyone else, the moral backbone of the story, or the one who survives despite being overlooked. Hollywood knows how to honor that. It knows how to celebrate the resilience of black women, but it rarely knows how to celebrate their desirability. When the black woman is positioned as relatable rather than aspirational, she becomes safe to praise. The industry can champion her without threatening the hierarchy of beauty it's built on. But when you take a woman like Nia Long, effortlessly beautiful, sensual, and confident, Hollywood freezes. Because now the question isn't, can she act, but can America desire her the same way it desires her white counterparts? And that's where the discomfort begins. When Hollywood does reward desirable black women, it's often for roles that reinforce harmful stereotypes rather than subvert them. Take Halle Berry's historic Oscar win for Monsters Ball in 2002, the first and only time a black woman has won Best Actress. While it was celebrated as a milestone for representation, the role itself was deeply complex, a character defined by trauma, poverty, and sexual exploitation. The industry often rewards performances that place black women in pain, roles that align with its limited imagination of what their womanhood can look like. It's as if Hollywood can acknowledge a black woman's talent only when she's suffering or stripped of dignity. This selective recognition reveals that the issue was never about talent, but about comfort. Hollywood is far more comfortable seeing black women endured than seeing them adored. This further proves that Hollywood has a script for how to handle black women, but that script is built on control. It's comfortable showing black women in positions of wisdom, endurance, and sacrifice, but not in positions of luxury, fantasy, or unapologetic beauty. It's the same system that would give Viola Davis an Oscar for Fences, but will never cast someone like Nia Long in a role that mirrors the cultural fantasy of a Julia Roberts or a Cameron Diaz, because one fits the strong black woman archetype, admirable but non-threatening, while the other demands to be seen as a woman first, without qualifiers. Hollywood's failure to hold space for both reveals a deeper truth. America can handle the black woman it can pity or learn from, but it still doesn't know what to do with the black woman it must desire, aspire to, or center without apology. That's all for today's video. Let me know what you think about my analysis, or if you have an opinion on any of the latest mentioned. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!